The wealthier a person is, the greater their responsibility for the destruction of nature, the more money, the greater the sin. The more material wealth a person possesses, the heavier their sin, and the more severe their future punishment. Therefore, one should never envy or admire the rich, but rather pity them. In summary, the law of the sum of positive and negative energy applies across all domains. 一个小资本家论雪峰式共产主义 A small capitalist discusses Xiefeng-style communism. Xiefeng, January 30th, 2024. Translation edited by Yu. I was born into poverty and, through hard work, became a minor capitalist for a time. After becoming a capitalist, I employed 2 workers in my home. One was a young girl responsible for washing clothes, cleaning dishes, and maintaining indoor cleanliness. The other was a middle-aged man responsible for maintaining flowers, trees, lawns, swimming pools, keeping vehicles clean, and feeding 2 large wolf dogs. The gate didn't require management because it was a remote-controlled electric gate. This comfortable and leisurely life lasted for over a decade, and I have the following insights. For society to progress, there must be wealth disparity, and there must be upper, middle, and lower tiers. The upper tier thinks, the middle tier understands management, and the lower tier serves the upper and middle tiers. This is an ideal social situation. Equal poverty or common prosperity will result in everyone not being able to live a comfortable and leisurely life. There are a small number of people in the population who are good at thinking and taking risks. If they are asked to do management or service, they cannot do it well. That would be a waste of a lot of resources in society. The middle tier is good at and understands management. They don't think long-term. Letting them do service work would make them feel unwilling. The lower tier doesn't want to think and doesn't understand management. It's very suitable for them to do service work. In this way, everyone is happy. I employed 2 workers in my home. Because I got rid of the trivial and time-consuming housework, I could have plenty of free time to study and improve my ability to manage things and handle more important work. And the 2 workers, because I employed them, not only had food to eat and a house to live in, but also could take care of their families. So I was happy, and they were satisfied. If a society no longer has class differences and everyone's living conditions are the same, then it is equivalent to punishing diligence and rewarding laziness. The result will definitely lead to the poverty of all people. A society without wealth disparity and class existence is definitely the worst society. At the same time, the better the social welfare, the higher the taxes on capitalists, the greater the power of unions, and the higher the minimum wage standards for workers, this society is a society that deviates from the natural way. It is a very unjust and unfair society. Its direction is bound to collapse. From this, let's examine the so-called Xiefeng-style communism. If this Xiefeng-style communism is what we understand and envision about the concepts and practices of communist society throughout human history, then undoubtedly, Xiefeng-style communism will certainly be a flash in the pan. It is purely utopian and will inevitably fail as it progresses. The reason why Xiefeng-style communism has existed for over a decade under challenging conditions and is still operational is that it is definitely not the type of communism we think and imagine. It must meet the following conditions. It must allow those who think, are good at management, and provide service to feel satisfied and happy. Every member must be wealthy in terms of spiritual and mental wealth, and there cannot be a parasite who benefits without working. Every member must be selfless, without an ego. There must be a goal that is more beautiful than the enjoyment of being human. The soul garden of every member must be beautiful, and there cannot be any emotions of jealousy, comparison, greed, resentment, etc. Its management system cannot be autocratic and centralized, nor can it be a democratic central system. It must be heavenly. Its founders and successors must not have a penny of personal property. It must be against human nature. If the above 8 points cannot be achieved, Xiefeng-style communism will definitely be a fleeting, colorful wave that rises in human society. Can it be done? The difficulty is greater than landing on Mars. Let's wait and see. 讲道理者不懂道理. Those who argue about reason do not understand it. Xiefeng, January 31st, 2024. Translation edited by Yu. A bee and a fly got into a dispute. The bee stated, "The most delicious thing in the world is the fragrance of flowers." The fly retorted, "The most fragrant thing in the world is dog feces." Neither could convince the other, leading to a fight. Three individuals, A, B, and C, got into a conflict that lasted for 2,000 years without a clear winner or loser. Person A argued, "The most important thing in life is money. Money can make the impossible possible, buy the best services in the world, afford luxury houses, cars, yachts, and enable travel around the globe. Money can work miracles, allow people to live with dignity, and its benefits are endless. People perish for money, birds perish for food. Hence, the most crucial thing in life is to devise ways to earn money." Person B countered, "The most important thing in life is affection. Money is as worthless as dung, while affection is priceless. Where there is affection, there is warmth, peace, and beautiful weather. Where affection is absent, there is chaos and turmoil. When affection exists, love flourishes and marriages last a century. When affection is absent, families are destroyed and lives are lost in an instant. Money without affection is like a haunting ghost, while affection without money is akin to a divine deity. Therefore, the most important thing in life is to nurture, maintain, protect, and cherish affection." Person C interjected, "The most important thing in life is neither money nor affection, but the pursuit of truth. Truth enlightens the mind, keeps people on the right path, enriches the heart, and leads people to a brighter future." Persons A, B, and C could not convince each other, leading to daily arguments and occasional physical fights. The chairman, general manager, and secretary started fighting. The chairman declared, "Sell all the company's stocks." The general manager objected, "It's a bull market, a golden opportunity to make money. We can't sell." The secretary added, "The overall market situation indicates that the economic crisis has not yet arrived. There is still profit to be made. It is right not to sell. However, gray rhinos and black swans may appear at any time. It might be wise to sell now." The chairman and the general manager each had their own reasons for selling or not selling. The secretary added fuel to the fire by playing both sides, leading to heated arguments that left the company's prospects in jeopardy. So, who is right, the bee or the fly? Persons A, B, or C? The chairman, general manager, or secretary? The answer is that each has their own reason. Thus, we find that everyone in the world has their own reason, and everyone's reason is right. If anyone wants others to accept their reason, it just proves that they don't understand reason. So, we can draw a revelation. No one should impose their own reason, but simply let their own qualities shine. So, how can we avoid quarrels, arguments, and even fights caused by reasoning? The answer is, whoever is responsible, whoever bears the consequences, they have the final say. My understanding of happiness. Xiefeng, February 4th, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Let's first look at the following four phenomena. When I was a child, there was no electricity, running water, radio, television, or mobile phone in my home. There were no ready-made clothes for sale in the stores. Clothes were made by hand from fabric bought from the store. In winter, the water we drank was spring water carried from 2 kilometers away in wooden buckets. The most vivid memories from my childhood are of spending all day playing or catching fish by the canal or river in the summer, herding sheep on the river beach, playing hide and seek or poker with a few friends, pulling pigweed in the cornfield, or carrying a dozen eggs in a basket to the store to exchange for kerosene and salt. I can't remember wearing any new clothes, but every time I recall, the scenes I can remember are all filled with happiness. I lived in Zimbabwe, Africa for more than 10 years and spent nearly 2 years in many remote rural areas. In the countryside, people seem to do nothing all day, gathering together to chat or listen to music and dance. I have been to many poor thatched houses. Inside the house, apart from a pot and a few bowls, a blanket spread on the ground, and a few hanging clothes, there are no other furnishings and utensils. But they seem to be born optimists, laughing and dancing all the time, seemingly without any worries or anxieties. I stayed in a primitive tribe in Vanuatu, Oceania, for 2 months. I lived in a guest house provided by the tribal chief. This guest house was drafty on all sides, the ground was sandy, and the roof was thatched. There was a rat's nest in the thatched roof, and from time to time, baby rats would fall onto the bed. A pair of pants and a shirt hanging on the grass wall were bitten by rats after a few days. The water we drank was rainwater collected from a bucket under the eaves. There was no electricity, so I bought a solar panel from the city to charge my phone and provide lighting. At night, I often heard people shouting, probably singing and dancing. During the day, I saw people sitting or lying under a thatched roof with no walls on all sides, on an old carpet. A kettle was placed on a stove made of stones, and steam was coming out of the kettle. They were drinking tea. I don't know what kind of tea. Anyway, it was the leaves of a plant. Drinking tea, 3 or 5 people chatting and laughing together. I occasionally received some food sent by people nearby, either papaya, bananas and mangoes, or occasionally they would kill a cow, and I would also buy some to eat. Apart from salt, there were no other condiments. There are clear rivers here. Bathing is done in the river, and clothes are washed in the river as well. I've been living in rural Canada for 7 years. The area is vast and sparsely populated, and every household lives in a villa. Apart from going to the supermarket in town and the annual garlic festival, people rarely gather together. Each family lives alone, which is probably why people like to go to church on Sundays, because only by going to church can people have the opportunity to interact and communicate. For 7 years, no police or government department staff have ever come to my house. Occasionally, I would go to Vancouver for a few days, lock the door, there are no anti-theft doors and windows, and leave, leaving things like lawnmowers and small carts outside at will. The gate is never closed. After a few days, I came back and everything is as usual, with no signs of thieves. I hardly see any Chinese people all year round, and I have little contact with my neighbors. On Sundays, when I want to sleep, absolutely no one will come to visit and disturb me. Although the winter is a bit long, the interior is still warm. In winter, there is nothing to do. For several months, apart from surfing the internet and using the phone, all that's left is eating and sleeping. So, what do these 4 phenomena illustrate? They illustrate the essence of happiness. 选最艰难的那条路走. Choose the hardest path. Xiefeng. February 13th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. Let's consider the following 8 paths, and we choose which one to take. Herding sheep, selling sheep, building houses, marrying, having children, and letting children herd more sheep. Farming, selling harvested grains or vegetables and fruits, earning some money to build a house, marry, have children, let children go to university, and let children leave the countryside. Working for a boss year after year, earning a monthly salary, and maintaining the livelihood of the whole family. Striving to be a civil servant, working for the state, receiving a decent monthly salary, and maintaining the livelihood of the whole family. Opening a shop, whether it's reselling clothes, shoes, socks, hardware, electrical appliances, groceries, or engaging in catering or repair. The monthly income is higher than working for a private boss or the state, and you can live a comfortable life. Running a company and doing business, no matter what you do, as long as you employ more than 8 people to work for you, that's a company or enterprise, and you can live a moderately comfortable life. Engaging in finance, opening a bank, letting other people's money circulate through your hands, extracting a bit of commission, and you will have a steady stream of money, and you can live a very comfortable life. Being an official, a high-ranking official, using power to control more resources, you will benefit infinitely, and the benefits are endless. The above are 8 paths in traditional industries, and the following are 8 paths in non-traditional industries. Live streaming to sell goods. As long as you can live stream on the internet, whether it's preaching Buddhism or showing nudity, maximizing traffic, the more fans, the greater the value, not to mention selling goods. Collecting advertising fees can bring in a lot of money. Running study classes, based on your own fame and knowledge or professional qualifications, seize people's inner desires to run study classes, let people pay fees, the bigger the fame, the more expensive the fees, you will get rich quickly. Creating a platform, in the era of mobile internet, as long as you set up a platform on the internet, let some people with needs achieve their goals through your platform. Each time a goal is achieved, collect a commission, money will flow into your pocket like a stream. Reselling information and resources, any information, as long as it is not public, can be converted into money, steal information from somewhere, and then sell it to people who need information. You can make money. The more confidential the information, the more valuable it is. Obtain some kind of resource, and then sell the resource to people who need it. You can get a large or huge amount of money at once. Being a master, according to scientific research, 20% of people are brainless. In today's era, knowledge in any field can be obtained instantly from the internet, especially with the birth of ChatGPT-4. Whatever knowledge you want, it can push it to you instantly in this way, as long as you pretend to be a master, and then show off the knowledge given by ChatGPT. People will believe you and become your followers. Making money from followers is a business with no cost and high profit. Creating communication software. As long as you can program, you can create a large amount of software programs, from enterprise data management to games to social networking, from cloud computing to national defense, big data to dating between men and women. As long as you design and create it, people will buy and participate, and there is money to be made. Being a hacker, invading the internal information library of others or an organization, retrieving information, and then converting the information into your own income, such as retrieving someone's bank information. You can easily transfer the money in someone else's bank to your own hands, retrieving the corruption information or loot information of a high official. You can use this to blackmail the high official to meet your own needs. Establishing an invisible empire. Anyone, from the president to the billionaire, from the Nobel Prize winner to the celebrity, has their own weaknesses or worth. As long as you pinch the weakness, they can obediently obey. As long as you offer enough benefits, people can sell their souls. Of course, this is something that people with extraordinary high IQ can do. So, which of the above traditional and non-traditional industries is the easiest and which is the hardest? The answer is, the first one is the easiest, the eighth one is the hardest. From the first to the eighth, the difficulty increases gradually. We will find that the easier the thing is to do, the less promising it is, the more likely it is to survive at the bottom of society, the more fragile its living conditions are, the more likely it is to be restricted and hit by the survival rules of the human-animal circle. Just like a pyramid, the lower you are, the greater the weight and pressure you bear, the harder it is to survive. This enlightens us that the lower you are in society, the harder the path you should choose from a young age. Never choose the easiest path, because once you choose the easy path, the result is that you will suffer and be tired all your life. At the bottom of society, in addition to the exploitation of the upper class, the harm at the lower level is even worse. Just like a poor family, the quarrels, conflicts, and confrontations between family members are more than those between members of a wealthy family. So, what is the hardest path in human society? The answer is, surpass the president and billionaires and enter the kingdom of freedom. 生命禅院导游 2024 告白 Confession of Life Genuine Guide 2024 Xiefeng February 18, 2024 Translation edited by Qinyu. Apart from understanding and knowing the path from the mortal world to the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and celestial islands continent of the Elysium world, I confess that I lack knowledge in all other areas. Therefore, I have the following confessions. I will not collaborate with any individual, group, organization, political party, religion, or country. Therefore, do not seek collaboration with me. You handle your affairs, and I will handle mine. Your actions will not affect me, and my actions will not affect you. I do not seek assistance from any individual, group, organization, political party, religion, or country. My affairs are matters of the greatest Creator. I rely solely on the greatest Creator, not on others. Therefore, no one should harbor thoughts such as, I want to help the guide, or I am helping the guide. You handle your affairs, and I will handle mine. What and how you choose to do is your business, not mine, and my business is not your business. No one should offer me advice or suggestions, nor prompt or instruct me on what to do and how to do it. I have a clear understanding of what I am doing, what I want to do, and how I will do it. I do not need anyone's prompts, suggestions, or ideas. My only concern is how people can live to become celestial beings and how life can ascend to heaven. I do not concern myself with the affairs of any country, government leader, religion, or political party. I am not a saint, nor am I a good or bad person, neither kind nor evil. Therefore, I do not concern myself with the world's pain and joy. nor with anyone's basic needs, birth, aging, sickness, and death. I will neither help nor harm people. Anyone who studies the Chanyuan corpus and Siefeng corpus does so voluntarily, not because I require or force them to. Anyone who propagates the Chanyuan values and the second home lifestyle does so consciously and voluntarily, not because I arrange or require it. If you benefit from the corpus and its propagation, that is your blessing and the result of your efforts. Therefore, do not praise or extol me, because your benefit has nothing to do with me. Similarly, if you suffer, sin, and tire from the corpus and its propagation, that is your own doing, and it has nothing to do with me. I am only responsible for guiding Chanyuan celestials, and I am not responsible for anyone who is not a Chanyuan celestial. The rise and fall of the world may be the responsibility of every individual, but it has nothing to do with me. The so-called guidance of Chanyuan celestials is merely writing articles. As for how Chanyuan celestials act and what they say, it all depends on their own enlightenment and voluntary action. I will not arrange or require anyone to do or say anything. What Chanyuan celestials want to say and do is entirely their own business, not mine. If my previous statements and actions contradict the content above, that is entirely my mistake. This will be the standard moving forward. The above confession is intended to inform everyone, including Chanyuan celestials, that anyone wishing to communicate with me should only discuss life and life. Avoid discussing any other topics, as this can minimize communication costs and greatly save time and energy. Apart from life and life, I do not comprehend the rest, nor do I wish to. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. 人无目标必平庸. People without goals must be mediocre. Siefeng, February 27, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. The difference between mediocrity and excellence lies in one's goals. The grander the goal, the more exceptional the life. The smaller the goal, the more mediocre the life. The grander the goal, the richer the resources. The smaller the goal, the scarcer the resources. Being at the top, overlooking all the small mountains, when your goal is to be at the top, all other beings appear mediocre. Once life reaches the top, what will you see? You will realize that kings, presidents, and billionaires are all mediocre. Once life reaches the top, what resources are available? All resources in the world become accessible, not just natural resources. Even countries, political parties, religions, people become usable resources. Even gods, demons, celestial beings, monsters, ghosts will become usable resources. Once life reaches the top, there is only room for games and entertainment and nothing else to do. Even if you could become the president, you wouldn't want to undertake such a strenuous task. Even if you had a mountain of gold and silver, you wouldn't dig. Even if you had a palace, you wouldn't live in it. Anything else, even if it could bring you $1 million income every day, you wouldn't do it. Only enjoyable games and entertainment are worth participating in. Once life reaches the top, everywhere in the world becomes home. A thatched house can provide shelter. The world's wind and cloud are all dramas. Planting vegetables and raising chickens become wonderful tunes. Once life has a small goal, everywhere becomes a battlefield. Always a time of crisis. Being scared and anxious and not sleeping well becomes the norm. Running around every day and being upset becomes a daily routine. Once life has no goal, you become a pawn on the social chessboard. You become the meat to be cut on the chopping board. You become the leeks growing in the field. You become the things that can be swept into the trash can at any time. People with ambitious goals will know where to go, what to do, will not waste life, will understand what the hardships and difficulties along the way mean, will get out of the rough and go to the flat, will understand what is human, what is celestial being, what is Buddha, what is God, what is demon, what is the animal world, what is human society, will clearly see the truth. Otherwise, you are just a mediocre being. 内心有苦无外诉. Do not speak of inner suffering. Siefeng, February 29, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. All beings suffer. Who is without suffering? Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death are all sources of suffering. Suffering from life, old age, sickness, death, suffering from love and separation, suffering from resentment and hatred, suffering from unfulfilled desires, suffering from the burning of the five aggregates, and then there is the suffering of mortgage and car loan, the suffering of reluctance, and the suffering of, though there is surplus of wealth and power, it's hard to maintain a stable life. The elderly are often easily moved, and the autumn rain is hard to clear. It's often easy to start things but hard to accomplish them. It can be said, the whole family's suffering is hard to express. The sadness is heartbreaking. Everyone has suffering in their hearts. If you internalize the suffering, people will become strong, clear, rational, and open-minded. Once you tell people about your inner suffering everywhere, people will become. There's a phenomenon worth thinking about. That is, in human history, those who have achieved something are mostly not complainers, and the more people live at the bottom of society, the more complainers. In fact, the real situation is that the more successful people are, the more suffering they have in their hearts, but they never complain to others. The boss's suffering is actually more and more complicated than the worker's suffering. The president's suffering is more and more complicated than the common people's suffering, but the boss and the president do not complain. Suffering is a seed. If you suppress it in your heart, it cannot grow and sprout. Once you say it, it begins to sprout and grow, and you can no longer control it. Everyone has this kind of experience. Once you speak out the suffering in your heart, you will feel a little more relaxed, a little more comfortable. But then, the listener will start to feel uncomfortable. This is called the transfer of suffering, meaning that you transfer your own suffering to others, although the suffering is transferred out. But there is a sequelae, that is, the complainer becomes a suffering plague. Source in the eyes and hearts of others, suffering plague, is similar. To the nature of the plague, people will avoid you in the future. So, your days will become more and more bitter. So, if you have suffering in your heart, bear it, don't ever speak out. As long as you don't speak out, you are a strong person. People will be willing to interact with you. Once you speak out, it signifies that you are a weak person. People will not want to interact with you. If you suffer for a long time, you will get sick. Your body will get sick. Your spirit and soul will also get sick. So you have to internalize the suffering in your heart. There are 3 ways to internalize. One is to learn to be grateful. Another is to actively and optimistically do things. The last one is to seek help from experts, for example. If you have spiritual suffering, then go to a psychiatrist. If you have psychological suffering, then go to a psychologist. If you have physiological suffering, then go to a physician. There is no need to tell people who are not experts, because even if you say it, it's useless. Since it's useless, why bother to say it? In summary, the more you complain about suffering, the more you suffer, and in the end, you will complain yourself into a dead end. Sweetness symbolizes heaven. Suffering symbolizes hell. People all want to move towards heaven. No one wants to move towards a person who often complains to others. 殖民的价值和文化入侵的益处. The merits of colonization and the benefits of cultural assimilation. Xiefeng. March 25, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The merits of colonization and the benefits of cultural assimilation. Advocating for colonization and cultural assimilation is often seen as politically incorrect and even rebellious. I am aware that many people may criticize and denounce me for this. Although my knowledge is limited, I respect the facts. I spent a full 15 years living in Africa, during which I visited countries such as South Africa, Mozambique, Botswana, Angola, and Tanzania. I also experienced Zimbabwe's unprecedented inflation and currency devaluation. Around 1998, I noticed a trend. Across Africa, the earlier a nation gained independence, the worse its situation seemed to be. The independence of the developed nation of South Africa also confirmed this pattern. Around 2005, I asked my black gardener, was life better when you were ruled by the British, or after you gained independence and were ruled by your own people? He responded without hesitation, life was certainly better when we were ruled by the British. This leads to a discussion. For ordinary people, the pursuit of a comfortable, relaxed, wealthy, and healthy life should be paramount. In life, the pursuit of happiness, joy, freedom, and contentment should be prioritized. As ordinary people, it is a cognitive error to prioritize concepts, ideas, positions, and spiritual pride. In other words, it doesn't matter who rules. as long as they make my life comfortable, relaxed, wealthy, and healthy, and as long as they make my life happy, joyful, free, and contented, they are a good ruler. Conversely, if they make me live in anxiety, sorrow, fear, and poverty, they are not a good ruler. Since life was better under British rule, why strive for national independence? After independence, life became even harder. So what's the point of national independence? Britain once had more than 70 colonies, which have now all gained independence. What has been the result of this independence? There have been some success stories, such as the United States, but the vast majority of nations have seen their economies and the lives of their people deteriorate after independence. Countries such as Zimbabwe, Burma, South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, Sudan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Libya, Afghanistan, and others are examples of this. Who benefits from the independence of a colony? Only a few people benefit. For the majority of people, independence has led to poverty and backwardness. Now, let's discuss cultural assimilation. I lived in Canada for a full 7 years. This period of my life can be described as comfortable, free, relaxed, and calm. To exaggerate a bit, it felt like a paradise for ordinary people. I never experienced even a hint of discrimination. The police never visited my workplace or residence. I never experienced theft or robbery. No government department ever came to my workplace or residence for inspection or inquiry. I am currently running a small inn, and over the past 7 years, I have accommodated at least 5,000 guests. There has never been any trouble. All the guests have been respectful and civilized. In Canada, as long as you abide by the law and pay your taxes honestly, the rest is up to you. This is a reflection of Canadian culture. The healthcare, education, and retirement systems are all superior. So, for ordinary people who want to live a good life, who wouldn't like this kind of culture? Therefore, I pose a question. Isn't it beneficial for a civilized culture to invade a place that is barbaric, ignorant, backward, and impoverished? Between a barbaric war invasion and a civilized cultural assimilation, which would you choose? In fact, the term cultural invasion itself is problematic. It should be called cultural education. If a civilized culture invades a place that is barbaric, ignorant, backward, and impoverished, ordinary people should celebrate and embrace it with open arms. 避免碰撞. Avoiding collisions. 协防. March 27, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyu. Fruits, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, among others, should not be allowed to bump into each other, as the areas of impact are likely to rot. Vehicles such as cars, ships, and airplanes should avoid collisions. Once a collision occurs, they will suffer deformation and damage. Tribes, nations, and countries should avoid conflicts. The outcome of such conflicts often results in mutual defeat, or one party being dominated by the other. Even hard materials like stones and steel can fragment or even break when they collide with each other. From this, it's clear that in human interactions, people should also strive to avoid conflicts. Conflicts inevitably lead to harm, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. Any part of the body, once injured due to a collision, can lead to disability and lifelong consequences. When people resort to name-calling, belittling, insulting, and attacking each other with harsh, vulgar, and negative words, it damages both their spirits and souls. As the saying goes, hatred sown in the heart will sprout. This hatred can last a lifetime, and given the opportunity, revenge is almost inevitable. Quarrels, arguments, and debates between people are essentially forms of conflict. While bystanders may find inspiration or even benefit from them, the party who loses in these disputes can end up feeling defeated, much like the losing rooster in a cockfight, leading to depression and difficulty recovering. This is a form of harm. One of the differences between earthly life and the life in heaven is that on earth, people are constantly in conflict with each other, whereas in heaven, conflicts among people do not exist. Therefore, to determine whether a person possesses heavenly qualities, observe whether they are constantly in conflict with others. Even occasional conflicts suggest a lack of these heavenly qualities. Those who are constantly involved in quarrels, arguments, and debates have no place in heaven. Behaviors such as condemnation, nitpicking, Belittling, criticizing, questioning, cursing, insulting, and attacking others are all forms of conflict that can hurt the other party. However, the principle of every action has an equal and opposite reaction applies here, and the person initiating the conflict will also inevitably suffer an equal amount of damage. Therefore, on the journey of life, especially on the path to heaven, it is essential to strive to avoid conflicts. 诊断一下看自己是不是有精神疾病. Diagnosing whether you have a mental illness. Xiefeng, March 30th, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Last night, I watched a video from Below 56 Degrees, titled Immigrating to Canada and Encountering Degenerate Chinese Individuals. My husband and I were given the ultimate immigration penalty. The female leads firmly advised to leave the Chinese community and stay away from Chinese people. She also stated, Chinese people remain Chinese, even when they are abroad. This morning, I happened to watch a video from Brain Hole Utopia discussing Lu Sun. Lu Sun wrote an article called Diary of a Madman, in which he described his view of Chinese history as follows. I opened the history book to check. This history has no chronology, and each page is filled with words like benevolence, righteousness, and morality. I couldn't sleep, and after carefully reading for half the night, I saw words between the lines. The entire book was filled with two words, cannibalism. In 1882, the U.S. Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, which strictly prohibited Chinese from entering the United States. Without proper documentation, all were deported, and henceforth, no place was allowed to grant U.S. citizenship to Chinese people. In 1923, the Canadian government issued the Chinese Immigration Act, which is essentially Canada's Chinese Exclusion Act. The main content is to completely prevent Chinese from entering Canada. 5 months ago, a Chinese person in the Below 56 Degrees program advised to stay away from Chinese people. Lu Sun discovered that Chinese history is a history of cannibalism. Both the United States and Canada have enacted laws to resolutely prevent Chinese from entering their countries. I am not discussing the right or wrong of these views. I am just thinking. Regardless of whether the criticism and condemnation of others are correct, self-reflection is always beneficial. 3 years ago, when I entered the elevator at Kamloops Royal Inland Hospital in Canada, a Caucasian woman around 50 years old next to me said, "There are not many gentlemen like you nowadays." Why did she call me a gentleman? Because when I entered the elevator, I simply bowed slightly, placed my left hand on my chest, and extended my right hand in a "please go first" gesture. Now, let's diagnose ourselves to see if we have a mental illness. If one's mental state exhibits one or several of the following phenomena, it indicates that one has a mental illness. Once there is, then being discriminated against by others is inevitable. Feeling superior or inferior in one's heart. Feeling secretly happy when seeing others suffer, sin, be abused, and die.